Hi, I'm Michael Gross, host of the B&O Railroad Museum television network. During the American Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln established the first U.S. government railroad agency by a congressional act that created the United States Military Railroad.
Abraham Lincoln was no stranger to railroads. As a lawyer before being elected president, he represented the interest of railroads in the Midwest and was a strong believer in the technology and efficiency of railroad systems across the United States. With the outbreak of the American Civil War in 1861, it became immediately clear that railroads, both north and south, would play a crucial and tactical role in land warfare for the first time in world history. The fight to capture, destroy, and control the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad, which traversed both Union and Confederate states in the early months of the war, would prove the point. Railroads were independent, private companies whose loyalties to the war effort on both sides could be swayed by politics or profit. Under Lincoln's leadership, Congress passed the Railways and Telegraph Act on January 31, 1862. Under the provisions of this legislation, Congress empowered the President to seize and operate any railroad or telegraph company's property if needed for the war effort. It further provided that the managers and employees of those companies would be placed under the control of the military. Finally, this act created a new federal agency named the United States Military Railroad. Newly appointed Secretary of War Edwin Stanton promoted Colonel David C. McCallum to the rank of Brigadier General and put him in charge of the newly created agency. McCallum served in a largely administrative capacity, but his successful organization and management of the railroads eventually earned him a promotion to Major General. In mid-1862, Lincoln's eye fell upon Union Colonel Hermann Haupt. A former railroad construction engineer and superintendent, Haupt was serving in the defenses of Washington, D.C. In 9 days, Haupt and his men repaired a destroyed railroad bridge across the Potomac Creek. Lincoln saw his work firsthand and remarked, "That man Haupt has built a bridge 400 feet long and 100 feet high across Potomac Creek, on which loaded trains are passing every hour, and upon my word, gentlemen, there is nothing in it but corn stalks and bean poles." In September 1862, Haupt was appointed as the Field Operations Superintendent of the U.S. Military Railroad and given a commission as Brigadier General. Although he officially refused the rank, he wore the uniform during his service. Hermann Haupt made an enormous impact on the Union war effort, rebuilding captured railroads for the North, reconstructing damaged and destroyed railroad bridges, and maintaining a roster of government-owned locomotives and railroad cars. To honor his service, one of the government's locomotives was named after him. The capable workforce employed by the U.S. Military Railroad included former railroad men, laborers, and African-American contrabands. The contraband force was composed of escaped and captured former slaves who sought refuge and employment with the Union Army during the war. Lincoln never had to exercise his power over the privately held northern railroads and telegraph companies, but his congressional authority extended to the states in rebellion, and those lines in the South captured by the Union Army were rebuilt and integrated into the U.S. military railroad system. U.S. military railroad engineers were instrumental in developing armored and artillery railroad cars, hospital trains, and troop transport systems heretofore unseen on any battlefield. By the end of the war, they owned over 2,000 miles of track, 6,300 railroad cars, and over 400 locomotives.
Learn more about the Civil War and the strategic military utilization of railroads by planning a visit to the B&O Railroad Museum, where you will experience the largest collection of original Civil War period railroad equipment and the most important Civil War railroad exhibit in the world.
learning more about the B&O Railroad Museum and Ellicott City Station? Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. With daily updates on upcoming events, coupons, photographs, history, and things to do in Baltimore, you'll never be off track.